The Arbovirus risk map was created by the Spatial Analysis of Watershed and Landscape Systems Group at the University of Wyoming with funding from the USDA's Agricultural Research Service. The website is open to all interested users and can be found at this address. The website is updated daily, and the top images provide a direct link to the most recent risk model, which forecasts 1 week ahead of the present day. There are two types of risk maps, temperature-based risk and compound risk. Temperature-based risk evaluates only whether or not accumulated degree days have been warm enough to allow local mosquitoes to become transmissive. We have calibrated this risk evaluation based on historical outbreaks of West Nile virus. Areas in red are deemed to be at risk of transmission. Non-transmission risk areas are left blank. As you can see, at the height of the summer, most of the U.S. is warm enough for mosquitoes to transmit West Nile virus. Compound risk is assessed by adding an additional livestock factor, so as to help evaluate the risk of Rift Valley fever virus becoming established in the United States. Livestock are the primary reservoir species for Rift Valley fever virus. The more livestock present in an area, the more likely the disease will become established. Compound risk combines temperature-based risk with the local livestock density on a normalized scale to determine areas of relative risk. If there is no temperature-based risk, the compound risk is set to 0, even in areas of high livestock density. The highest levels of compound risk occur in relatively warm areas with high livestock densities, such as Texas and Oklahoma. The current risk maps, plus maps for every day beginning in 2010, are available for download. Clicking on a year will automatically download all risk maps for that year to a compressed file on your computer. Maps showing the average risk over a 10-year period from 1994 through 2003 are also available for download. Downloaded maps are viewable with GIS software such as ArcGIS Explorer or ArcMap. Our website provides tips on how to view the maps. First, open a blank document in your GIS software, such as this one in ArcMap. Click on Add Data and navigate to the folder where you saved the downloaded images. Viewing is improved by adding a base map. We have found that the standard topographic base map works well. The base map is easier to see by setting the data file's transparency to 50%. Once you have added the data files you are interested in, you will find that the GIS format is well suited for examining the data. For example, you can watch how risk spreads as the country warms with the onset of summer, such as in these maps of compound risk from May 20th to May 30th, 2012. May 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th. Or you can compare the same day across different years. Here we see July 4th in 2010, 2011, and 2012, showing the most transmission risk in 2012. We can also compare with the 10-year average of transmission risk from 1994 through 2003. The average risk is based on a 10-kilometer grid rather than the 50-kilometer grid used for the more recent maps, explaining the finer resolution. The comparison makes clear that we have recently experienced more widespread transmission risk than during the previous decade. It is sometimes useful to zoom into a particular area of interest, such as New England in the northeastern United States. Here we see that on July 4th, 2012, the southern parts of New Hampshire and Vermont were predicted to be at risk, but the northern parts of the states were not. On the same date in 2011, New Hampshire and Vermont were not at risk, while in 2010, only the southeastern tip of New Hampshire was at risk. The 10-year average map shows a similar risk level as 2010, but the finer scale highlights some hot spots of local risk. As you can see, working with the data within ArcGIS is ideal for comparison purposes. And of course, in this format, you can also add and work with your own data, such as geolocated birds killed by West Nile virus. Finally, a cautionary note. The risk forecasts are related only to temperature and not to other factors that also influence the risk of arbovirus transmission, such as mosquito presence. The forecasts have successfully predicted the onset of the West Nile virus transmission season in many locations across the country, but are less useful at predicting the end of the risk season. Our intent is to provide vector control districts with a tool that will help to focus control efforts. We hope that you will find this web service useful.